days until July 19th, which is a special day here in the studio. 14 days until Bourbon Day.
2 weeks from today.
Mm-hmm. And on a Friday, you think it's one of those holidays
It's
where
a well thought out plan.
I think it's one of those holidays where they don't have a date. It's like maybe just the first Friday in June, which is
seems fair.
Seems like a good
Second
job.
Friday in June.
Second Friday in June. Yeah, second Friday in June seems like a good time to do Bourbon Day.
I agree. Yeah, right there in the middle.
You could have
Father's Day weekend. The beginning of Father's Day weekend seems very fair.
Sense.
Right, that comes together.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we got. We got a bunch of countdowns. I'm sure more countdowns will be popping up. A lot of things happening today.
Yeah, we'll get into a good bit of stuff. NBA playoffs last night. I don't know if it was a dud or if it was a coronation, at least, for the Dallas Mavericks.
Good word.
That was interesting. The Mavericks, absolutely no problem whatsoever with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Charles Barkley ripping into the Timberwolves at halftime. Did you catch any of that?
No, I didn't. What Chuck said?
Just said it was embarrassing for the people of Minnesota that they spent their hard-earned money to come see that and just ripped the Timberwolves for lack of effort in the first half. And the Mavs win the Western Conference. And now we know next Thursday, if you want another countdown there, 6 days away, June the 6th, we will start the NBA Finals. And it'll be the Celtics and the Mavs. And, okay, that's kind of interesting. Kyrie Irving versus Boston.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Last time we saw Kyrie, he was walking around saging the Boston arena because apparently there was some bad spirits in there. So
yeah.
And I got a news for Kyrie. It's not spirits that's going to be bad. Boston fans will be in prime form for Kyrie to come back.
Good chance that they'll get to Bourbon Day with that series and that Boston fans will be waiting for him. Last night for Kyrie, 36 points, 14 of 27, 4 of 10 from three-point range. That was matched by Luka Doncic, 36 points last night. They combined for 72, each with 36 last night. Both of them make 14 shots. They combined to shoot 10 of 20 from three-point range. It was, and I mean, they're fun to watch. Like, they're fun to watch. And that actually may make it an entertaining NBA Finals.
I went down a path yesterday. It was basically the path of Twitter was Luka's built like a, and then the internet had fun with it. My favorite one was Luka's built like a smoothie.
Okay. It's fair.
He's built like a smoothie and just out there just cooking folks regardless of nobody can stop him.
And quite honestly, the Mavs big two, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns kind of matched them because both of those guys last night had 28. They combined for 56. It wasn't quite good enough, but I just mentioned it that both Luka and Kyrie both made 14 shots. Karl Anthony Towns was 9 of 20. That's not awful. He was 1 of 6 from three-point range. That's where you want to yell, stop shooting your threes. And Anthony Edwards was 10 of 18 and 4 of 6 from three-point range last night. But it wasn't enough, not even close, as the Mavs destroy the Timberwolves. That game was in Minnesota for anybody that didn't watch it. Just an absolute whipping last night. So now we have our NBA Finals tonight. If you want to get into it, NHL tonight. Edmonton and Dallas Stars, and that's actually been a pretty good series if you like hockey.
I haven't watched any of that series. I did watch a little bit of the Rangers-Panthers last night, and it just reminded me how fast hockey is because the game was just moving so quick. They were on power play, and then there's line changes. I really do forget how exciting the game is. While I was watching, I did see a goal. So
I did see a goal.
I did see a goal.
It's not the Loch Ness Monster to see
well,
one.
It's not. But it was just during the time I was watching. It was the Rangers were coming off of a power play, and one thing is universal about sport, regardless of what sport it is, how dejected they were when the Panthers scored. Just looking in the crowd, because I don't know what's happening to me, but something about seeing New York fans dejected. It's kind of satisfying to me a little bit. It's the same way I felt when the Knicks were losing. It's like, oh no, look at you guys. You think you're so special.
Developing a deep dislike for New York fans, huh?
Well, they just have so much pride, and they probably deserve to win because they're good fans and they really cheer for their team and they really get into it. Again, Twitter is a funny place, and it showed a dude in Florida. He was saying, hey, Rangers fans, guess what? This is a backyard. This is what I'm going home to after watching this game. Where are you going? It was solid. It was solid.
Twitter
good,
can
good
have
banter. Good banter.
Twitter can have good stuff on there from time to time. So, yeah, playoffs tonight. But the main thing today, we'll get into a good bit, is indeed the regional up in Raleigh. 1:45 pregame right here on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. 2 o'clock first pitch today for the Gamecocks as they get set to take on James Madison, who we've heard a little bit about, some audio there that we played a little bit yesterday. And James Madison comes in. They hit the ball exceptionally well, 1 through 9, and that'll leave South Carolina today trying to do whatever it is they do. I don't know how to say it better, but do whatever it is they do in terms of pitching to get the job done and get into the Saturday game in the Saturday winners bracket, if you will.
Well, I was reading Gamecock Central, and it was talking about the JMU coach, Marlon Eichenberry, everything he said about South Carolina before the game, and I'm not sure if he's actually watched them play.
James Madison or South Carolina?
It's not sure if he's watched South Carolina. He tried to pull a fast one on us. Here's his quote. On preparing to play South Carolina, I've watched a little bit this year, and they're a solid club. Every team this time of year is a solid club. Sir, I don't know if that passes as analysis. Are you able to just say, hey man, solid club, and just let that fly for anybody?
That's the line we use in the NCAA tournament when there's 64 teams and we're not real sure about one of the mid majors out of the American East Conference or something like that, and you're not real sure what you're supposed to say. So it's just solid club. They got some dudes. They can score.
He followed it up by, you got to execute and play really clean baseball to have success.
He was a man of few words, was he not? A man of few words.
Solid club.
Solid club. That's what matters. So, yeah, we'll get into that obviously a good bit this morning as we look ahead to the Raleigh regional. Let you hear a little bit of audio and kind of take one final look there before it all kicks off 2 o'clock today up in Raleigh, South Carolina, James Madison, the 2 o'clock game. Bryant and North Carolina State, the 7 o'clock game. And South Carolina, I mean, look, the bottom line is this. The season comes down to what you do in the postseason. It really does. If you make a run to Omaha, it was a successful season. If you get knocked out in the regionals, it was a dud of a season. Don't care how good the other 50 whatever games were, 55, 56. If you get knocked out in Omaha, in the regional, it was kind of a failure of a season. If you get to Omaha, it was a successful season. If you get to Super Regional, then I think it goes to the eye of the beholder and where you stand and how you feel.
If it goes to Super Regional, then we have a great week of sports radio.
Yeah,
we can have a bunch of people arguing both sides.
If it gets to the Super Regional, I will defer to your whoever's opinion, however you want to feel about it and what they do. But again, we'll get into a good bit of that this morning. Let you hear some audio there from Mark Kingston and maybe even go back a little bit to some audio just the other day and what was said about James Madison, so you can have a little bit of a scouting report that's a little bit better than just they got a good team.
Solid club.
Yeah. Solid club.
Yeah. The scouting report that we have on JMU is a little bit more detailed than that.
A little bit. We go out of our way to be nice and detailed. Eli Jones will get the ball tonight. 3-4 on the season. 5.32 ERA. Be interesting. Just if a Friday start gets him back into rhythm. Not a Friday night start, but a Friday start, place where he was accustomed to being early on in the season. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Let's get out to the phone lines for just a second. David wants to weigh in. David, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm irritated and frustrated. You guys are talking about baseball, hockey, basketball, when you should be talking about the fact that the NCAA has conspired to take Bill's noon game away from him.
Thank you.
Not only that, but to give Kentucky the 7:45 SECN game instead of us. Sometimes you can know stuff and not be able to prove it, but this proves that they've conspired to take Bill's noon game away from him, and we should be writing our Congress people, and we should be starting petitions. Thank y'all. Have a good morning.
Thank you, David. We'll get to that.
He totally gets the program.
Mm-hmm. We will definitely get to those start times. feel like I'm partially to blame for some of this.
Yeah, I just feel like we did an hour's worth of radio yesterday. It was null and void.
No. I think we opened an interesting can of worms on noon versus 7. The fourth, because you're also probably not going to like my take on the first game.
Nice.
You're also probably not going to be a fan. We will definitely get to those start times coming up later on this morning, as we found out the Old Dominion start time 4:15 and the LSU start time. It's a nooner.
What about the LED lights? What are we going to do? Can we return them? You know, you buy something, you're like, oh, we didn't need as much of these as we thought we did.
Turns out we didn't need them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And I'll prepare accordingly for what I think may be coming my way when we get into that discussion. We'll talk a little baseball, though, when we come back. Let you listen to a little audio. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Friday morning edition of the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it doesn't matter. They'll come out to your location, replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Great start to your Friday morning. We don't have any accidents to report. Don't see any major slowdowns. We hope it stays that way. Sunny, 84 today. A few clouds rolling in for the weekend. 86 tomorrow, 83 on Sunday before we pop back up into the upper 80s on Monday. And increased chances of spotty storms then for a few days to start out our work week. But it's pretty decent right now. It is kind of breezy out there. 63 on 107.5 The Game.
I think Eli earned the right because he's one of our most mature guys. He's been here before. He's pitched some really big innings in the NCAA tournament already. He's trending in a good direction. And as it relates to how long he'll go, we'll just kind of let the game dictate that. If he's doing well and we think we need to throw him out there for the next inning, we'll do that. If it looks like it's how it's been recently, where he gets to a certain pitch count and we need to pass the baton, then we'll do that.
That was Mark Kingston yesterday talking about the decision to start Eli Jones. And I don't know. I don't, they see him in practice, Matt Williams, those guys. I know that they've run their studies, their analytics, everything to see what they felt best with. I'm okay with this move. And you really hope is that Eli Jones gives you what you're supposed to have in baseball. 6, 7 good innings. Turn it over to a middle reliever, maybe get to Chris Veach or Garrett Gainey in the 9th, and save a bunch of arms for the next 2 days.
Well, that's best case scenario.
That's what you want, right?
That's the best, absolute best case scenario. If that happens, that means a lot of things are going well. That means I would assume that they haven't scored a bunch of runs. Gamecocks are probably winning at that point. That would be the best case scenario. I think everybody can coach under the best case scenarios. What I'm interested in is if the game gets tight or if things maybe go a little bit left based on we know that JMU can swing the sticks pretty well. We know that they have a dynamic offense. So what happens if, let's say, he doesn't give them that 5 or 6 innings that they need, and maybe it's 3 innings, not even necessarily bad innings, but what's going to happen at that point? And because this pitching rotation has not been solidified throughout the season, I know Mark Kingston and staff have a plan, but as fans, we really don't know what's the next step after Eli. So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it depends on matchups, maybe somewhat where they find themselves in the lineup of James Madison, and then who you go to right out of the pen. Is it a Parker Marlotte? Do you go with Sam Simpkins, who pitched pretty well against LSU? Do you go early with a Chris Veach? Do you go to a Ty Good? I would be interested, and of course, I guess I could have asked Mark Kingston about this on Tuesday, but I bet he wasn't that far along in preparation to think what is the ideal rotation for him this weekend. If he could draw it up and say, okay, this is going to be perfect, would it be like an Eli Jones today, Ty Good, or Garrett Gainey tomorrow to get the start, and then you hope you go for in Game 3 the win with, I don't know, Matthew Becker. I'm just throwing a name out there, but something of that mind's our Roman Kimball is a guy. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how they do play this today, if it's all hands on deck to get the victory.
Right. That's also another strategy that we've talked about. Different coaches have different philosophies. Some coaches believe we have to get Game 1. Sometimes coaches feel like we want to get Game 1, but we need to make sure we're ready and for either the second game in the winner's bracket, or if we're coming out of the loser's bracket. We don't really have a feel for how Kingston and staff want to play this, so we're all basically going to be watching.
Let's go back. You mentioned Marlon Eikenberry, coach for James Madison. He talks about playing South Carolina Gym. This is cut 8, where he really gives a very in-depth breakdown of playing South Carolina. Here's Coach Marlon Eikenberry. This is James Madison's coach.
Well, like Finn said, they're a really good club. Finn probably knows a little bit more of one of their players. He played travel ball with Kennedy Jones, so him and Kennedy go way back. And I've watched them a little bit this year, and they're just a solid club. Every team in this that's playing this time of year is a really good club, and you got to execute and play really clean baseball to have success. And we've prepared these guys under pressure all year to perform. And it's how we practice, it's how we go about our business, and I'm really glad to be here. And I think one of the things is just go out and play clean baseball and pitch, play defense is kind of what I've always preached my entire career. And if we do that, I think we'll be fine. Our offense is pretty dynamic in a lot of different ways. We just gotta do what we do and just focus on our process and what we do well.
A lot of cliches.
He started warming up towards the end. Just do what we do, focus on our process, play clean ball, execute. He went pretty strong. That was a man who looked at the blue book in his college essay and just started writing. I don't know the answer to this question. I'm just going to write and hope something lands.
That the professor's like, that's a lot of words. Just give him a B. I don't have time to read all this. Just give him a B and let's move on to the next paper. Who's the next paper over there? The question he was asked was referring to South Carolina, by the way, to which he basically said, I don't know.
Ask him.
That
he knows a dude on the team. Kennedy? Oh, yeah, all right. What's Kennedy think?
Yeah. Basically, ask Finn, who I don't know who Finn is, or if Finn was standing nearby.
I think Finn's one of the players on the team, and then when they were going through the scouting reports, they were like, anybody know anything? Finn's like, yeah, man, I played with Kennedy way back. The only problem is Kennedy's only been here for a year, so Kennedy's kind of like, hey, man, I don't really know a lot either, man. I've only been here for a year.
Swing the bat, run the bases, catch the balls. Yeah,
probably the same things y'all are trying to do.
That was a wild breakdown. For anybody that says Mark Kingston, Kingston gives you the complete analytical breakdown. Coach Eikenberry for James Madison just gives you the cliches of everything, and he did a strong job, very strong job on that. Now, on the flip side of that, I tell you what, this is cut number 4. Jen, this is Mark Kingston scouting James Madison. Let's hear Mark Kingston now give us a quick scouting report on James Madison.
Team, they're pretty physical. They steal a lot of bases. They like to bunt. They're a multifaceted offense. They like to do a lot of things to try to make you uncomfortable, and that's what we prepared for. So it's a good team. It's a team that can score a lot of runs. They have a win against Arkansas, so it'll be a great challenge. It'll be NCAA postseason baseball.
If we could just take out some of the wording and reverse it and play it at the beginning of August or the middle of August, referring to Old Dominion, it'd be about the same. They're physical. They're multifaceted on offense.
Let's try that. We're going to try that. Here's Coach Kingston on Old Dominion.
But he does break them down. All right, we know they like to steal bases, something that Eli Jones will have to watch out for
and
today.
To get sport here really quickly, that is a little bit of a point of concern because we have struggled on defense. We saw the bunt defense break down twice during at Hoover. So I'm sure I'm assuming JMU has seen that, and they're going to try and put some stress on the Gamecock defense by playing some of those games with small ball on the base path. So that is slight concern that I might look for during the game today.
But we give the victory in the scouting department and the analyzing department to Mark Kingston, right? Because he gave us
well, it depends on what we're trying to do. Are we actually trying to give something? Because if we're in the business of just not giving anything, Coach Eikenberry got that hands down.
Won heavily.
Yeah, he's loaded. He's ready to go.
He's not sure though. I do like Coach Kingston's breakdown of they're physical because I don't know what that means in baseball. Like if you have a beaned batter. And you get into and we have a little brouhaha at home plate. Do they have the upper hand because they're physical and we're not, or sliding into the bag? Are they more physical? I don't know. But I appreciate their Coach Kingston giving us so much better. Now I know what to expect today from James Madison.
I would imagine a JMU fan is like, what?
Oh, what? They do what?
They do what?
Oh, we do. We just got to do our stuff. Got it. Yeah, no problem. There you go. A little bit of baseball discussion there this morning. We get you ready. We'll have Elijah Campbell will give us a call here in about an hour, and it's 7:30 this morning, and we will get into that. Next up, though, I don't know if they listen to me I don't know what exactly happened yesterday, but we'll get into kickoff times. And if you're not happy with me, I understand. 803-404-6100. You can text in. Odds are you're going to be less happy with me when we come back. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. You know, guys, as we get older, we kind of don't focus on our health maybe like we should. We focus on other things, the stresses of work, taking care of the family. But you need to worry about your health. And Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic are ready to help you because as you get older, maybe you're noticing things like you're losing hair, and you shouldn't be doing that quite just yet. Maybe you're not recovering from some of your workouts fast enough, or maybe you're not remembering things that seem pretty simple. It's called brain fog. Call today and get a free testosterone test and speak with Dr. Dan Balknight, 803-875-MENS. They want to assess your overall health, and they will choose something that's individually specific to you. They'll carefully choose an assortment of tests that work synergistically to provide a general overview of your current health status. That's right. They will diagnose any conditions you have and work with you individually to make sure you get taken care of. So call today for an appointment, 803-875-MENS.
Still looking pretty good out there this morning. We don't really have any major slowdowns, no accidents to speak of. And happy Friday to you. 84 for the high today under sunny skies. 86 tomorrow, 83 on Sunday. We get to the upper 80s and even hitting 90 maybe by about Tuesday. But chances for rain and storms start in on Monday. So a little bit of a rainier start to your work week. And the temperatures go up just a little bit as well. So we will welcome the 63 and breezy conditions we have right now on 107.5 The Game.
.34 on a Friday morning. Not an ideal time for a college football game, but maybe some of you would have preferred that over the 4:15 afternooner that we will get to start the season, the Old Dominion game. Maybe the LED lights at 6:34 would look a little different, a little better in August on the 31st, 92 days away, as opposed to 4:15 in the afternoon, Preston Thorne?
Maybe, possibly. Again, no respect. He gets no respect. The 4:15 game is the game where they're like, we need something. We have to fill this time with something. And maybe rightfully so, that's where we are right now in the program's trajectory. We might be a 4:15 opening game of the season.
Well, they weren't going to – they were not going to put this one on the streaming channels just yet. That'll probably be the Wofford game, I would assume. I don't think Akron will go on the streaming channels. I would assume. I think it's Wofford, and now I don't remember the date right in front of me. I'll have to go back and look. But I would assume that would be, because if you look at how they do it, you got to stream. Each school streams one game. So like Eastern Kentucky and Mississippi State, Furman and Mississippi, Alabama A&M, and Auburn are all purely streaming games. ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus for opening weekend. Purely streaming. So those games get a little bit, they get the later evening kicks because it's not really, I don't know what, I'm not trying to be mean about it.
It's not real TV.
It's not real TV,
Say
yes.
it.
There you go. Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
I'll say it.
All right. I would have preferred the 12:45 UT Chattanooga Tennessee kick. That was kind of what I was pulling for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'll take 4:15. I can sleep in the morning.
Ooh.
The Hootie concert. I can get home. I can sleep in a little bit. Look, as y'all said, it's going to be hot. You didn't want the nooner because it was hot. Well, guess what? It's going to be hot anyway. I'll tailgate through it. Plenty of fans. Have fans around. Tailgate. Go into the stadium. Be done about 7:30. Maybe an hour of tailgating extra. Leave at 8:30. Be home by 9:30. Bang. It's a good time. I can live with this. 4:15. I'm okay with it.
This game will be heat delayed.
No.
Oh, it will be. You can mark it down. 4:15, August 31st, there will be a heat delay in this game. Maybe rain delay, possibly, because there always a chance of showers popping up at some point. But there will be a heat delay in this game. Mark it down.
Do we forget
you heard it here
the
first.
first game against Texas A&M was about 1,000,000 degrees? We essentially played it on the sun. I know it was a 6 o'clock kick. It was a 6 o'clock kick. That was probably one of the hot. There's been some exceptionally hot games at Williams-Brice Stadium. And by the way, just for transparency's sake and for being honest, I prefer the overly hot game to the overly cold game.
I mean, I'm with you on that.
I prefer that. I go with the overly hot game to the very cold game.
We don't get many of those, so that's not as big of an issue. But August 31st, I mean, if you look at, we can talk to Chris Deering as we get to that point. But as you look at games that are played at that point, the wet bulb will be out. There will be heat delays. Mark it down.
4:15. I'm good with it. I can live with it.
Everybody know.
I will come off of the Hootie concert that night. I feel like maybe Darius leaned in a little bit and asked for this 4:15. He's like, hey, look, we're doing a concert the night before. Want to be able to do the concert, rest a little bit in the morning. I think Darius pulled this off nicely for Gamecock fans here. 4:15 to start the season. If you're wondering, earlier we got the phone call. Southern Miss, Kentucky, the 7:45 SEC Network game. I'm thinking that they rated Old Dominion lower than Southern Miss, which is how that worked.
That's one way to look at it.
They figured that Southern Miss would give Kentucky more of a challenge than Old Dominion would South Carolina. So I'm taking it as a compliment too.
That's a way to approach it.
A lot of positives there. A lot of positives I'm taking away from that.
That is a way to approach it.
We knew week 2. We already knew 3:30. Big fan of that. I will not be traveling to that game. Be watching it. Get the big TV outside. Have the smoker going. 3:30 in the afternoon is perfect. Get up. Get game day going. That day, if you want to get into one of the biggest games, at least right now on the schedule. I don't know what it will be when we get to week 2, but you'll be able to fully immerse yourself in Texas and Michigan. We already knew that, a noon game on Fox. Texas going back to the defending national, going to the defending national champion in Michigan. Michigan, obviously, new head coach. I'm excited about that one. You'll be able to get up. You'll be able to do your morning chores, play golf if you want, do your fishing, whatever it is you do in the morning. Then get into your couch or your love seat or whatever you like to sit and enjoy Texas and Michigan. And then that'll lead us into South Carolina, Kentucky in the 3:30 spot.
No problem. No problem.
Go with that?
We got 4:15. We got 3:30. Then Bill.
Oh, we got blessed. The great folks at Disney and ABC and ESPN looked at South Carolina LSU, and they said, you know what? South Carolina deserves a nooner. We should give them a nooner, and we're going to help them out. We don't want those crazy Cajuns coming in and being able to tailgate all day and
don't they get a little odd, as the sun sets or something?
Yeah, that place. That's a wild. I don't know. You mentioned the Tiger and running out, and it was the night game down there. Those people are terrifying at night. There's not a stadium in this country that is more terrifying at night than the Death Valley down in Baton Rouge. Williams-Brice has really become a great night place. I totally agree. Baton Rouge and Death Valley on a Saturday night you go in with a little Kevlar on.
Yeah, Williams-Brice is fun.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're from another place, you'd be like, this is fun. I like this. I like the songs, the towels. This is great. And you go to Death Valley, you have to tuck your stuff in a little bit tighter. You're like,
you wear a poncho into that stadium. It doesn't matter if it's about to rain or not. You make sure you go in with a poncho. And noon game, all right, nooner. Now, I will give you a reason to be upset. And welcome to the new world of the SEC. Now, I don't know how people will take this. Like, do you say, oh, we're on ABC? National cable, that's great. We're going to be nationally televised ABC. Now, ESPN is nationally televised too. So real quick, do you have a preference? If you've got to pick one, doesn't matter what time of day, would you rather be on ABC or ESPN?
Ooh, I guess it depends on the broadcast team.
Okay.
I'm new to this ABC thing.
We are all.
That's a tough one to pick. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
If I'm going to give you a reason to be upset, I've got a good one.
Okay.
ESPN will show that night at 7 o'clock, a primetime game where you would have gotten your LED lights, you would have gotten all the fire and the fireworks. They're going to show Texas. Can you name me who Texas could be playing to get the 7 o'clock primetime ESPN slot? Because this is going to be the one that really ticks you off.
There's only a couple things that really push my buttons. Is this going to be Mr. File for bankruptcy himself, Shedeur Sanders, and Coach Prime? Okay. All right. Well, I'm good with anybody else.
Texas San Antonio?
Oh.
Texas UTSA at Texas will be your primetime 7 o'clock game. That one got chosen. Now, I don't know the pecking order for how they're doing this. I'll have to go back and see if I can find an article. Because, in the past, it used to be CBS had first selection, ESPN had the second selection. I think ESPN2 had third, and then SEC Network had fourth, if I'm remembering correctly, in the old way of doing things. I don't know with ABC if they have, because ABC's going to have a triple header that day.
Okay.
They're going to have South Carolina LSU. They're going to have Texas A&M and Florida at 3:30, and then the night game is going to be Georgia, Kentucky. So they've got a triple header going. So I don't know if they said, we're taking the top 3 games we want. Because if you look at the rest, Boston College at Missouri is a 12:45 SEC Network game. You've got some ESPN2s or ESPNUs that night with New Mexico at Auburn, Toledo at Mississippi State. There's a 7:45 SEC Network game, which is Kent State and Tennessee. You do have Ole Miss and Wake Forest, by the way. Remember, Ole Miss Wake Forest is an ACC contest because of it being at Wake Forest. So that gets placed on the beautiful CW channel. But I think we all got very lucky, very, very blessed with this nooner.
We all of us.
You can get in there. You can do your tailgating early. You can start tailgating Friday night. I don't know. I feel good about this.
You feel good about it. So this is a case example of when you look at Twitter maybe saying one thing, but there's somebody out there who's just quietly, silently agreeing.
I will admit, I put a tweet out yesterday. I was like, really? The LSU game? Now, there's, again, two sides to it. I like the night. But that game, I would have been okay with the night game. Would have been wild and crazy. Would have people be falling out at about 6 o'clock and then having to wake themselves back up at 6:45. Nooner, I feel good about. I can take it. LSU at noon. We'll continue on. We got an album review to get to today as well. Oh, so much to do.
Lot of things going on.
Feeling good. Feeling pretty. 803-404-6100 is the early game.
Preston, let me tell you about my friends at Integrated Media. All right, listen, we've been telling you, you finally got the game time set up. You finally have everything set up. But if you're not going to the game, why wouldn't you choose to have the best setup possible for yourself? So get your outdoors ready for the summer with Integrated Media. Samsung Terrace TVs waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works both indoors and outdoors, so you can have everything set up. You can be watching the games, listening to music, doing whatever you need to do, and you can control all of those devices from just one remote. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. 8327, or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
I'm just going to tease it. About 8:20 this morning, we'll do our message board mayhem. I've got a great one, and it speaks to why you should be happy about the noon game. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
All right. We'll get.
Now, do we need to set a timer so that you do professional? I think that was a really professional, really good tease. Are you going to pay it off?
Yeah, because
You won't forget.
Message board mayhem.
It's built in. Okay.
It's built in, so I've got the content for that segment that will continue to back up why the nooner for South Carolina is the way to go.
Nicely
so
done.
just count down until that. We have continued our countdowns rolling through South Carolina the opener to South Carolina football, to the start of EA Sports, the start of Jen's birthday, which if it was me, I'd start celebrating tomorrow, even though her birthday's in July. Make it a month and a half type ordeal. The Southern 500.
I'll celebrate Southern 500, Birthday, that's fine.
Okay, so you got that. We're also counting down with, what'd you say? Is it Amazon's top 100 albums?
Apple Music's top 100 albums of forever for right now, right? Because these lists are subjective. We're gonna get a 2-for-1 today, because the one that was gonna be for on 91 is a really solid album. So we want to make sure we talk about that. But for today, for album number 92, we have Tyler, the Creator. Now, if you're not familiar with Tyler, the Creator, Tyler is one of the people who has pushed music forward. He's really, really innovative as far as the music that he creates. But this particular album, Flower Boy, was his sort of when he became a real actual artist. So before this, he was a child kind of prodigy, but he was making like shock music, and people didn't really take him seriously. Then he creates Flower Boy, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, this dude can sing, he can play the piano, he raps, he does all of this really cool things, and it's the first time we get a chance to see this. And it falls into my favorite genre of albums, the albums where the artists have had it with all the success, too much success, and now I'm sad. It's my favorite genre of album. I've had so much success, now I'm sad, and I'm going to make this next album. And so Tyler makes this really, really, really interesting album. I believe it came out in 2017. And it was the first time that I took him seriously. Previous to that, I was like, all right, yeah, we hear all the kids are talking about Tyler, the Creator. But he has a very distinct sound. And if you don't know who else Tyler is, he also was the voice and the music behind the soundtrack for the newest Grinch movies. So if you've seen the new Grinch movies, Tyler made some of the music for that. So that's Tyler, Flower Boy. More specifically, though, because on Saturday for Day 91, I wanted to talk about this album, which falls in the same category as I was talking about. George Michael, Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1.
Oh.
Listen Without Prejudice. Falls in the same category. George Michael, we know him from Wham. He's amazing. He's beautiful. He's handsome. He comes out with faith. He's playing the guitar, tight jeans. Everybody loves him. But he's like, hey, man, I'm an actual artist. Mm-hmm. I really want to be taken seriously as an artist. And so, unfortunately, people don't allow artists to do that because when you're too beautiful, we just have to stare at you. Mm-hmm. And it didn't help that the faith music, the video. Jen, I'm sure you remember the video.
Probably a really nerdy confession. My very first concert, Wham.
Wham. There you go. Great documentary on Netflix about Wham also. Really, really cool.
Oh, wow.
Really, really cool documentary about their friendship and how they support each other through the time. But Listen Without Prejudice is George Michael's second solo album. And he's like, hey, man, I can actually sing. I produce music. I write music. My favorite song from that album is Freedom 90. You've heard a lot of these songs probably just in the background. But again, these two albums are really similar, where you have these artists who actually just want to be taken seriously. Like Tyler, because he's a shock guy, and all of a sudden he starts making cool music. George Michael, because he was a boy toy. He's he's a guy that everybody just doesn't really take seriously as an artist, and he's like, hey man, I can make. It's
like they knew that. Okay, if I can make it big, then I could do the music I want to do.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so George Michael goes on to have a tremendous career. Obviously rest in peace. But George Michael's Listen Without Prejudice, very, very solid albums. So those are two solid albums. 92, Tyler the Creator, and 91, which would be Tomorrow, Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1. Never was a Volume 2. Don't know what happened with that. But
I'm doing a little research while you're talking. It says that the Volume 2 was scrapped for reasons only known to George Michael.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we won't get that answer. But
yeah,
never was a Volume 2. But Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1, I would advise you if you're into that period of music and you remember George Michael, but you might have skipped this album because it wasn't Wham or it wasn't Faith or anything like that. Solid album.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen Without Prejudice had Mother's Pride, and the waiting. It was the waiting for that day, which, given its subject matter, received considerable airplay on America radio during the Gulf War. How about that?
Freedom.
There's that too. All right, there's your Preston Thorne album breakdown. We'll do more. Hour 2 on the way. It is time for the weekend, and the weather is changing. Now it's time to use your backyard pool, but if it's got algae in it, and black algae is really bad. If it's got algae, you need to call the pool guru, Tracy Corley and Corley Pool Solutions. Give them a phone call today, 803-445-8109. You need to line up your summer maintenance ASAP. Don't let that thing get any worse. And at Corley Pool Solutions, they believe in providing the absolute highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you and your family, and they do it with flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. You know exactly what you are paying for. There's no hidden fees, no hidden cost. You're going to know exactly what is going on. So contact Tracy Corley and Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109. You want to make sure your pool is being maintained properly, because that helps keep the filtration system and other costly parts working properly. So call Tracy Corley today, 803-445-8109.
It's looking good for your Friday morning. This is how we like your mornings to be. No accidents, no major slowdowns to speak of, and a forecast that looks pretty nice for the weekend overall. Sunny and 84 today, some clouds rolling in for the weekend, 86 tomorrow, about 83 on Sunday, and then chances for some spotty storms on Monday and Tuesday. 89 or 88 for the high on Monday, 90 on Tuesday. But right now it's breezy and the sun is out. We enjoy that. 64 on 107.5 The Game.
Seven a.m., wrapping up the month of May. Final Friday of May, final day of May. We officially hit June, talking season. Oh, and the SEC, they done figured it out, Preston Thorne. They're watching the NFL. I don't know if anybody else caught this yesterday. The SEC made another little window, another announcement that's actually pretty cool, pretty big. You know what? You might want to start this countdown. 12 days away from today, Tuesday, June the 11th. The SEC will release all of the game times.
This is a great development. I touched on it yesterday, but the idea that people can start planning their times, their weekends, or whatever.
Yeah, this 2 weeks ahead.
That was garbage because you didn't know what was happening. But now I can know what times and prepare accordingly, even if it's just I need to get my tailgate in order for this time period.
Yeah.
This is a great
if you got friends coming into town or if you're traveling to a game.
This is a great development.
I will admit I have to, during football season, there's like little things I do like just over time have looked forward to. I will kind of miss that Monday where at noon I'm like hitting refresh on Twitter like every 5 minutes. Like, what time in 2 weeks? What time in 2 weeks? And then like texting all my buddies. I do agree with you. So what they're going to do, and we'll get back into the big news yesterday from South Carolina. We also, Preston wants to get into Dawn Staley's transfer, and we'll talk a little South Carolina here before Chris Deering wraps up the high school highlights segment for this academic year in the next segment. But what the SEC is going to do is on June the 11th, they are going to announce your window, essentially. Your window for your game. South Carolina will know all of their games. Now, it's the SEC-controlled games. SEC-controlled games. And by that, I mean South Carolina. I think it'll be up to the ACC to announce the Clemson game, so we won't know that just yet. But all the SEC-controlled games, so like South Carolina's home games against Akron and Wofford, those you'll be able to find out what the window will be. And there is obviously a couple different there's 4 different windows that they speak of. Those windows, obviously the early game, not us, but the early game, you can kind of understand what exactly that is. That is going to be the noon or 1 o'clock kick. So if you're in the early window, you'll play between noon and 1. If you're in the afternoon window, you'll play between 3:30 and 4:30. And they'll announce this again June 11th. If you're in the night window, 6 to 8. And then they will have a flex window, which means you'll either play the afternoon or night game. So if South Carolina could find out that they've got all early games. Well, I guess with the exception of Old Dominion, that could happen.
Do we have receipts for these lights? Did you keep the receipt?
Hey, it cuts down on the electricity at the stadium
You're gonna be
this year.
auctioning them off.
Maybe they all of a sudden they're like, ooh, we're going to save some money this year. That's cool. But that will happen June 11th. And I think it was Stuart Mandel who put out a tweet and was like, wow, amazing. Who would have ever thought you could tell teams their game times before the season started so they can actually make plans like you just said.
Yeah, I just really think this is a really cool development because people can start to plan. Even if you are going, yes. If you're not going, you can plan your get-togethers or your times or just your weekends. because let's face it, this football season, a lot of us, our weekends are sort of planned around when the game is happening. Now you get in advance, and you might be able to say, all right, we can put this off till then, or we can move this to this weekend.
Well, if you've got tickets and you've got something going on, look, the last few years, Austin has played travel soccer. If you've got kids in travel sports and you've got tickets, you're right. That's been a pain waiting for those 2 weeks to be like, oh, can I go to the game, or do I skip my kids' travel game or travel if they're in gymnastics or something? Whereas now you can look at it and be like, ooh, I'll sell my tickets for this game or give them to my buddies or do whatever. So, no, that is a good thing.
Also, that allows you event planners that are planning things for the weekend. Don't do it. Change your time schedule accordingly.
If it opens the window. I'm not saying it's a good idea, and boy, maybe we'll make a show out of this, but it opens the window that if you want to have a wedding in the fall, if you're planning quickly, you can be like, oh, South Carolina plays at 1. We'll schedule the wedding for 7. And then everybody that goes to the game will show up all hammered and sweaty from the football game. Or you can kind of figure things out now. You can kind of figure things out. The other part I say about this is going to be broadcast on the SEC network. Yesterday they just released it. It wasn't broadcast, or at least I didn't see it on the SEC network.
Oh, you're saying the schedule release.
It's going to be June 11th, 2 p.m. on the SEC network.
Yeah. I
Again, here is the SEC watching the NFL. This makes sense. The SEC watching the NFL like, oh, I see what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
You're get some eyeballs on the television, getting some content out there. You watch the SEC follow the NFL a little bit in how they choose to market things moving forward with the way the NFL has been able to basically put themselves into each month of the year in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I will say this. With this is a television product. I say this not being biased. Williams-Brice goes over very well on TV at night. It would behoove the SEC to try and figure out some ways to put the Gamecocks on at night, because that stadium looks amazing on TV at night.
And Brad weighs in on this on our text line, 803-404-6100. He says this will hurt teams like South Carolina some. They won't be picked for many primetime games before they could earn them by playing well.
I get that.
That's a good point.
I get that. I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason why we got maybe stuck with that 415 for ODU. But if the SEC is thinking about like this as a product, that stadium comes across very well on TV at night. So that might be something they consider.
And I said it last year, and I'll say it again. Kudos to all those involved in the administration. They have turned that into
it's awesome
and an absolutely electric atmosphere at night. They've turned it into a great showing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you can't control 78,000 fans, so that's not on the administration. You can't. The reason I say that is because it is a family-friendly environment. Like, you can't, contrary to what Clemson fans may think, nobody's throwing batteries at other teams or throwing babies off the upper deck, as some Clemson fans will lead you to believe. But the bottom line, that is a great environment. It is an electric environment, especially when South Carolina's doing well, and it does create a true home field advantage. And kudos to the administration, Ray Tanner and his staff.
Yeah, they've done a great job. Ray Tanner, Chance Miller, all of them, they've done an amazing job of turning that place into maybe a destination place around the SEC. You start to hear that chatter of like, man, Williams-Brice is a place that you want to go to play. I don't know if we have the intimidation factor. I think it's just a cool place to go.
Yeah.
Maybe once we start winning a little bit more, you could turn on the intimidation factor.
Yeah, look, there can be an intimidation factor. It's on the team to create that, to give the fans something more than just showing up and tailgating and walking into the stadium. So that was that. 803-404-6100. We didn't really get into it, Preston, yesterday, but one thing I know you wanted to mention, South Carolina, Dawn Staley did pick up a big women's basketball transfer from Arkansas.
Yeah, Miriam Dowda, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. I had it yesterday. But the pronunciation is a little bit interesting. Great, solid pickup. We'll assume we all trust Dawn Staley. What's really interesting to me about this is what Dawn Staley said when they played Arkansas. And this is very curious to me. They played Arkansas. Miriam, when South Carolina played Arkansas, Miriam had her then career high 19 against South Carolina. To which Coach Staley said, oh, she's good. A big that has great footwork, a big that can shoot the three, a big that can keep you off balance. She's really good. I was very, very impressed. I find myself complimenting her but what she'd be able to do on the floor.
And then when they did good game, Dawn had a business card, and when she smacked her hand and said, good game, it's like, here, take this. We need to talk.
All I'm saying is coaches out there, you hear another coach complimenting one of your players too much, get a little.
All of a sudden, their cell phone privileges are restricted by the coach for a few there in the transfer portal.
Let me see that 803 number come across your screen.
I actually talked with a low-level coach, not mid-major, is a little bit. I won't reveal. It's an in-state coach, and he's like, we're leery of going to certain schools who want to play us because he said it's more of a scouting trip for them. If they are aware of a player, and
she's good.
And look, Arkansas, South Carolina, you got to play each other, and that's in conference, and she's already playing high basketball, so but it is funny because there are now some, again, a little bit low, mid-majors probably too, but lower-level coaches that are like, we're a little leery of going to certain schools, even for that big check, because, as the coach said, I'm not dumb to think that the other coach isn't scouting my team while we're playing.
Right.
Like, is aware of a player that maybe they want to watch a little bit more up close and personal.
Now, obviously, Coach Staley has her pick. She can pick whoever she wants, and a bunch of people would love to go into there. But I'm sure if they're in the market and you see somebody like, oh yeah, do y'all remember her? Oh yeah, we do remember her. Let's check that out a little bit further.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like you said, coaches, just be careful of who's complimenting.
Sometimes
your
that
players.
paycheck isn't quite as great as losing your top player to that school. I know one school in particular. It's an SEC school, and they're really good right now. And their coach, all I'll say is people are very familiar with their coach, and it's not John Calipari because he's just now figuring out, there's a transfer portal. But there's a coach of a really good team, and there are certain schools I know that do not want to play a non-conference game with them for fear of having their team scouted. Essentially,
get to lay eyes on them in person.
As was told to me, if that coach calls you trying to schedule a game, you're very leery about taking them up on that. And that's welcome to the world of college basketball right now.
It's a real thing. Obviously, she entered the portal and she's looking for a place, and what a great spot to go. And that's a huge compliment to her because it's not often you get to transfer from somewhere to the reigning national champions dynasty in the making. So big upgrade, and I'm sure I don't know a lot about the young woman, but I'm sure she had to fit a lot of criteria for Dawn to be able to want to bring her into the fold.
Yeah. She's 803-404-6100. Austin weighs in. Back to the previous segment. Dang, that was a good freedom, Preston.
Oh, I have it. It'll end up on a show open.
Austin giving you a lot of credit there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Good effort on a Friday. 803-404-6100. We come back. We'll wrap up the high school season. We'll look at everything. Chris Deering will give us a recap, and then we'll give him the summer off. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey, it's Jen. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, the kitchen that we had to totally redo. That wasn't very fun when we first started thinking about it because the kitchen had to be completely gutted. Well, guess what? We went to CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, and they made it so much better, helping us with the layout. There's some really new kind of fun accessories in cabinetry. We checked those out, and then they gave us that photorealistic rendering to help us pull the rest of the elements of the kitchen together. Kitchens, that's not all they do, though. If you have a closet, you need more functionality, want to get rid of the host wire hanging racks, get some drawers in there, they can help you with that. If you need a home office workspace created, they can do that as well. Recently, a guest bath we kind of redid, so we needed a cabinet for that. They were great, as we expected. CHWCabinetry.com, the place to go, or call them today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. Still no accidents out there. Not complaining whatsoever. Happy Friday morning to you. 84 for the high today under sunny skies. Few clouds tomorrow, 86. Down to 83 on Sunday before the chances for some spotty storms come in on Monday. And really going to have that through most of next week. But right now, it's sunny and it's breezy. It's 64 on the early game.
7:19 on your Friday morning. Before you know it, we'll be back into August and getting you ready for high school football. But this will be it, the final segment of high school highlights of the week with Chris Deering. Until then, of course, Chris, last year we had to bring you in studios. There was a brouhaha during the summer, so you never know if something may pop back up. But Mr. Deering on his way up to Raleigh, actually, right now as well. He'll be covering the regional for the state this weekend. But good to hear from you as we wrap up the high school season.
Yes, like I said, we seem like we just started this thing a few weeks ago, but it was back in August, and now we've come to the close of the high school season with last week. You know, the things we didn't get to cover was Lexington winning the baseball championship with Brian Hucks winning another one, first one since 2013, and you know, happy to see him win it with a really good team and that played well down the stretch. I think they won 19 of the last 20 games. And then a couple other championships, Powdersville beat Hanahan in baseball, 3A baseball, and BHP beat Aner in softball. So that wrapped up the high school season. But, you know, you look across the landscape, and I think it was a really good year for teams in the Midlands in this area. And, you know, last year we talked about some things that stood out to me, and I thought about that this week. And it starts with Dutch Fork in football. You know, we talked about them all season. During the football season, they were struggling. The offense couldn't score any points. The defense was always playing pretty decent, but they just couldn't overcome a sluggish offense. And I think I remember telling you guys in October, late September, early October, you probably don't want to see Todd Knott come November. And sure enough, they got healthy, they got right, and he went on to win another state championship, beating White Knoll in the championship, two Midlands teams in the 5A. So that was really big. You know, great collegiate making the state championship. Adam Holmes did a great job with that program to get them there. You know, they came up a little bit short, but that was a good run by them. And then you switch gears and go into the basketball season. And, you know, what Josh Staley did at Ridgeview was really, really outstanding. That team went in and won the Chick-fil-A Classic against some nationally ranked teams, some powerhouse teams. You know, they had a little lull right before the playoffs, but then they got hot and won another state championship over at Ridgeview. And then what Dion Mathey has done at Great Collegiate in basketball, you know, he's built them into maybe the premier program in the state with what they've done. And Carlos Powell now coming in to take over now that Dion's moved on to Georgia Southern. So just a really good season. You know, I don't want to leave out, you know, here in the spring, the track teams that really dominated. I think the Midlands showed the track championships run through this area. Spring Valley Boys, Ridgeview, Blythewood, Westwood, all those teams really showed well. And so you got to think, if you think track, you got to think Midlands area teams. So a really good season for teams we cover in our area, and looking forward to getting started again in August.
Looking back, obviously a great year. You got Joyce Edwards, you got Cam Scott. We had several high-profile players, football players here in the Midlands. Just give me some of the individual performances that have kind of stood out to you.
Well, yeah, I did fail to mention Cam Scott. That was, you know, a great run by Lexington. I'm going to shout out another kid while I'm thinking about it. Will Burgess. He was a starter on the basketball team for Lexington. He was a starter in baseball. I think somebody told me he was the first Lexington player since Benjamin Ryan to win a basketball and a baseball state championship. And I think Benjamin did it in different years.
Don't give Benjamin any credit. His head's already big enough. But I don't need to deal with him later today. Him calling me to brag about how he ended up on the radio. I got enough to deal with him on. Don't give him any credit.
You know, that Ryan plan's pretty good. You got to admit, Bill. Come on now.
Yeah. No, he's been my assistant coach. He's one of my best friends because you're right. He won it in '90. He won baseball in '99, and then we won basketball in 2000. Of course, Benjamin went on to Clemson to play baseball, and unfortunately, an arm injury sidelined him there. But I don't give him credit. I don't need to hear from him later today.
But you know, in this day and age, for a kid to be a starter on two state championship winning teams, and you know, what you have to call the major sports of basketball and baseball, you know, you look across the landscape, and kids want to specialize in one sport now. And, you know, I thought that was good to see, to have him, you know, win a state championship, being a starter on both teams. So, you know, you can still play multiple sports and be successful in it, because I think Will's going to college of Charleston to play baseball. So you don't have to specialize. You can play multiple sports and still do good things. But Joyce Edwards, you know, a 4-year outstanding career at Camden. That was probably, you know, she's one of the best players to ever do it. You know, coming on the heels of Malaysia Fulwiley and some others here in the Columbia area. It's just girls basketball is big in the state, and Asia Wilson is probably the leader, but you got some more coming around that could be really good going into the future. So that was good to see those. Some others stand out. I'm trying to think. Oh goodness. You know, White Knoll came up short in football, but they have a quarterback that what I call sort of an old school quarterback, Landon Sharp. You know, he's not 6'4", 225 pounds. They can throw it all over the field, but then he's just gritty. He gets out and really plays hard, does a lot of great things for that team. And, you know, he's probably going to have to be the leader. Now that he's a senior going into next year, he's probably going to have to be a leader of that team if they want to try to have that same success. Because, you know, last year that defense was nasty. They were really good, holding opponents to under 10 points a game. They lost a lot off of that defense. So Landon Sharp should be a kid I'm really looking forward to seeing going into next year. And just so a lot of outstanding performances. I didn't really think about individuals coming into this thing. I thought about teams, but I think obviously outstanding performances across the board, individual-wise too.
I know going into the summer, you wanted to give a shout-out to some American Legion teams. Theirs is the summer baseball schedule gets going.
Yeah, so, you know, high school season's done, but, you know, there's football camps this summer, there's basketball camps this summer, and one thing I want to give a shout-out to is American Legion Baseball. You know, it took a dip, I think, in a time in the early 2000s where it was not the popular thing to do. Kids wanted to play travel ball, but I think American Legion's making a comeback. Went to a fundraiser the other night for Richland Post 215, and Chris Dorsey runs that program, and he does a great job. LeGree Oswald, right here in Columbia, he's the president of American Legion Baseball. He runs a great job. And back to Chris Dorsey on that senior team, they have 5 teams in their little division. The senior team that's coached by Dorsey, got Chris Biggs as the pitching coach, and a name a lot of people will remember, Andrew Eista, former South Carolina player. He's an assistant coach over there. So in that room the other night, that fundraiser, man, there was a lot of baseball talent to see a lot of those guys. And then they honored Tim Whipple. Dorsey played for Tim Whipple back in the 80s at Irmo, so they honored Tim Whipple, who retired after a great career. I was able to talk to Tim the other night. So that was, you know, seeing him leave, that was big news to see him step down after 40-something years in the business. So just, you know, American Legion Baseball is still out there. Go out there and support those kids. You know, I played American Legion Baseball back in the day, and it's just a good time and good fellowship for those kids to play all summer.
Yeah, American Legion Baseball is when I got introduced to a dude who went on to become pretty good. I think his name was Drew Meyer.
Oh.
I had never seen anything like that on a baseball field before. I was like, oh, this is what a Division I baseball player was like. Okay, I get it now.
Understandable. Chris, we know we have a busy summer. I'm sure something will pop up and we will need you, but enjoy Raleigh and then enjoy some time off because, man, you know it like I do. Once football season is here, it's nonstop for you. So best of luck to you this summer. Best of luck this weekend traveling, and we look forward to probably speaking with you sometime before August.
That sounds good, y'all guys. You know, have a good summer if I don't speak to you in the next few weeks. And we'll get back at it and have another good year next year.
We certainly will.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Always appreciate your contributions. Be safe traveling. Chris Deering there has been our high school highlights of the Week segment that we have done since August, and we've done it for the last few years and love highlighting some of the local teams. And now that we're in Florence and Myrtle Beach, being able to highlight some of the teams there in the PD and on the Grand Strand as well. And we will certainly continue to have Chris on in the upcoming year and look forward to that. 803-404-6100. We'll speak with another guy traveling. Chris Deering's traveling. Elijah Campbell is traveling. Our roving reporter, Elijah Campbell, on the way to Raleigh. We'll catch up with him when we come back. You're listening to The Early Game. It is the weekend. All right, I'm actually about an hour and a half away from the start of my weekend. I can't speak to you, but I can tell you whenever your weekend starts, the first stop you need to make is at Old Timey Meat Market. Whether it's the Lexington store, the South Congaree store, or the Irmo store on St. Andrews Road, you will find the absolute best selection and best cuts of meat anywhere here in the Midlands. The Derrick family, Mr. Boyd Derrick, the original family member, wanted to create a truly unique meat buying experience, something that's not like a grocery store. And at Old Timey Meat Market, that is exactly what you are going to get. Whether you're looking for a phenomenal steak for tonight, your chicken for the weekend, maybe you want some breakfast items, thick-cut bacon or southern biscuits, you're going to find it at Old Timey Meat Market. So again, stop by one of the 3 locations today, St. Andrews Road in Irmo, South Congaree, or the Lexington store. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Ask for that thick-cut ribeye. You will not be disappointed. It's Old Timey Meat Market.
No real no accidents to speak of, no major slowdowns. Are seeing something about hardscrabble at North Brickyard, or it might be an object on the highway, but aside from that, no accidents that we know of at this time. 84 for the high today, 86 tomorrow, 83 on Sunday. By Monday, we start seeing chances for spotty or, stray storms here and there, and that'll kind of continue really through about Thursday next week. But it's breezy at this time, and it's 65 on 107.5 The Game.
Covering the Gamecocks live from the NCAA Regional in Raleigh.
Sponsored by Columbia Craft, 520 Green Street in the Vista. Columbia Craft, craft beer famously hopped.
On the Game.
It is regional time, this time in Raleigh, though. And since it's in Raleigh, we broke out the 107.5 The Game moped. We threw Elijah Campbell on there with his backpack. And we said, get up there, young man. You're not married. You don't have kids. You're the one that can travel in this group. Welcome to be the low guy, Elijah. Welcome to another road trip for you. We have sent you all over this spring, and now you get to go to Raleigh. At least a closer trip for you than Nashville. I guess Greenville. Greenville was your closest one so far for the women's basketball tournament.
Yeah, Greenville's the closest one so far. Greenville is mopedable, I would say. And Raleigh, I think, fits in that category of mopedable. I don't think you could take a moped to Nashville. That would be a little challenging, and definitely not Cleveland. So I'm not the biggest fan of air travel. I do it. So the fact that I don't have to get on a plane for this one is a whole lot more of a relief.
Well, now I understand it took a little work, but I thought we were going to have a Lloyd and Harry situation from Dumb and Dumber with you and Terry Ford on the moped together, cruising up into Raleigh. That's really what I was pulling for. But no, you're on the way up there. We do know today that Eli Jones will get the start coming up at 2 o'clock today. Your thoughts on that and starting him, moving him back to a Friday night starting spot where he did seem to excel a little bit early in the season?
Yeah, there's been so much change in this pitching staff, Bill, in terms of the roles that Mark Kingston has kind of deployed on these guys. There's been a ton of, I don't want to say experimentation, but it kind of feels that way with this pitching staff. And with somebody like Eli Jones, I guess just finding wherever he's the most comfortable, and that's been in that Friday starter role, right? Where he's, when you're kicking off like a weekend series, his best games have been when he's pitching that first game. And I don't know if it's really a mental thing or if it's a routine thing. But look, you're playing a team that in James Madison that is going to make contact with the ball. They've faced really good pitchers in the Sun Belt this year, and if there's one thing that the Dukes do really well, it's put that ball in play. And Eli Jones is like a couple pitchers on your staff, a pretty solid sinker ball pitcher who for the most part doesn't give up a lot of really great contact. Is a good ground ball pitcher. And if you can limit the contact that the Dukes make to it being on the ground, then it's up to your fielders to be able to make the play. You can't have the 12 errors in 5 games like you had in Hoover last week, but the opportunity to keep the ball on the ground and leave it up to your infielders to make plays and get you out of innings is certainly on the table with Eli on the mound today.
Yeah, that'll be the big thing. This is a very good hitting James Madison team. Mm-hmm. I know you've done some interviews both with Jay Phillips and in the afternoon a little bit with Tyler Head this week. You've been kind of all over the map in the afternoons, but your thought, with Terry Ford, but your thoughts on the matchup today between Eli Jones and the James Madison offense?
Yeah, like the James Madison offense, it's interesting. Stuart Lake on our show yesterday likened them to Kentucky, and I think that's probably, if you want to look for an SEC parallel to this James Madison team, they're a whole lot like Kentucky in terms of their aggressiveness on the base pass and the way they're able to put the ball in play. They've stolen 100 bases this year, and if you put them in the SEC, they would have ranked second in the SEC, behind only Kentucky with 102. So James Madison's not afraid to run, and they certainly This is a team that also is able to hit for a decent amount of power, too. Now, they don't hit for South Carolina power, per se. They've hit 10 fewer home runs this year than South Carolina has, but they still hit 84 on the season, and they still have 5 guys who have hit at least 10 home runs. So there's a really good mixture of, power, of base running aggressiveness, and an ability to just put the ball in play. They don't strike out a ton, and they don't draw a lot of walks either. They're really aggressive at the plate. They're swinging away, and oftentimes they're making contact. Whether or not that contact is really good, varies game by game because they are kind of middle in the road in the Sun Belt when it comes to something like on-base percentage. But the biggest thing today is you just got to be able to avoid a large number in that E category at the very end of the line score, because James Madison's going to give you every opportunity to be able to get him out. It's going to be a big game for Cole Messina, too, behind home plate. He's going to have to try to throw some runners out because James Madison, I don't think, is going to really stray from what they do very well, and that's get on base, run, be aggressive, and you might have to throw some runners out today. But I fully expect James Madison to be able to put the ball in play a ton. And as good of a pitcher as I think Eli Jones is, I think he's a really solid pitcher. He's not a high strikeout guy. So this is a perfect formula for a lot of balls to be put in play, for James Madison to accumulate some hits. And I think we should expect a lot of runs. If you like high-scoring baseball, Preston and I talked about it whenever I was filling in for you, Bill, a couple weeks ago, our type of favorite scores in baseball games. And for me, like a good college baseball score is like 9-7. I think we're going to get maybe a little more than that, or at least something in that area. I think we're going to get a lot of runs today.
On the flip side of that, you look at South Carolina's offense against James Madison, and South Carolina has found the right time to go an explosion. You mentioned Cole Messina. I'm a big on Kennedy Jones this weekend. I think that's a guy who has to have a big weekend and give you another bat in the lineup that has pop with it now, especially with Gavin Casas out.
Oh, absolutely, especially on the back end of the order too, right? I mean, I think Austin Brindley and Blake Jackson at the top of the lineup have done a really good job ever since we've kind of gone to this specific batting order, starting around the Arkansas series, of those guys getting on base and setting the table for your Ethan Petrys and your Cole Messinas. I think they've done a fantastic job of that. And when you look at guys who have hit really well with runners on base this year, I think the best that you have in that type of scenario is someone like Kennedy Jones at the back end of the order. You're going to need him to be able to do that today because, on the flip side of James Madison being able to hit the ball really well, they're really good at putting it on a tee for you as well. They have a team ERA of 6.01. So they're no strangers to giving up runs themselves, and they don't have any Cy Young Award winners on this pitching staff. Trust me. And the opportunity is going to be there for Kennedy Jones to be able to drive in some runs, because I fully expect guys like Brindley, Jackson, Petry to be able to set the plate for them, and guys like Messina to be able to clear it when needed. But Kennedy Jones is going to be one of the more important players on this team just for the entire regional, just because with Casas out, who provided you some decent power, even if the batting average wasn't where you probably wanted it to be with somebody like him, he had so much pop in his bat to where he was able to hit a good amount of home runs and be able to be a threat to be able to hit one the other way if needed to at the very back end of the order. And without him in the lineup, you're going to need somebody like Kennedy Jones, like you said. I agree, to be able to step up and have to have a really solid week in, batting order 6 through 9.
Elijah, that was awesome. Way more in-depth than JMU's coach, Marlon Eikenberry, who told us, and I quote, that I've watched a little bit of South Carolina this year, and they're a solid club. So we appreciate your in-depth reporting on that. Moving forward, how does South Carolina match up with the rest of the field in the regional?
I think they match up pretty well. The more I look at NC State, and I don't want to broadcast or jinx this, I'm more impressed with their resume than by the numbers in the order and by watching them. If you look at their resume, they have one of maybe 5 or 6 best resumes in the country. If you look at just who they beat, like NC State they took 2 of 3 against Duke at home. That's a top 15 team. They took 2 of 3 at Clemson earlier this year. They took 2 of 3 against North Carolina, who's one of the top 5 teams in the country. And then they took 2 of 3 from Virginia at Virginia. And then one of the teams I think is a sleeper to win the whole thing in Wake Forest, they swept at home to end the season. They've got wins, that are comparable to anybody in the country. But they're middle of the road in the ACC in batting average. They're middle of the road in stolen bases, on base percentage, home runs. They're middle of the road in pitching. And when you look at a lot of the scores, they're 11-4 in one-run games. So I don't want to accuse them of being lucky, but they have benefited from some close game luck this season, a lot of those in those series that I mentioned. So when we're projecting this looking forward, if South Carolina is able to get into a tight game with someone like NC State, I wouldn't be surprised to see them pull through, just because what comes up must eventually come down.
Elijah, we appreciate it. Safe travels. Apologize, you know this. We're up against a hard break. We will catch up with you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Be right back. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. You know what's just around the corner. Hot weather and summer thunderstorms. Oh, sure, the summer's fun, but when those heavy rains, that hail, and those heavy winds come blowing through, you want to make sure your roof is ready to handle it. And Larry Leitner and Mid-State Roofing, they've been the leader for nearly 30 years in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they are ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a maintenance contract to make sure when these heavy summer thunderstorms come rolling through that your roof is prepared. So give them a phone call today. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you will speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So again, don't hesitate. Call Mid-State Roofing today. 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Reminder, you can always go to our live stream. You can go to our live stream. It's powered by Integrated Media, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Go to the Game TV Radio on YouTube and check it out. And if you've been doing that, if you've been paying attention, you've seen Preston and I kind of, nothing against Elijah, and even Chris Deering, but we've zoned out over here. Preston and I we've asked questions, but I couldn't tell you a single thing Elijah Campbell just said.
He said a little bit more than they're a solid club.
Yeah, and he did a good job. And it's nothing against Elijah, but the reason we have zoned out here is because if you don't listen to the game today, game is at 2 o'clock. We'll have free game 1:45. To watch the game, listen closely to what I'm about to tell you. To watch the game, you have to have ESPN Plus, not SEC Network Plus. You have to have ESPN Plus, which is an entirely separate streaming entity than SEC Network Plus. Now, Preston has discovered, I think he has it.
Pulled out a magic trick, miracle, a minor miracle.
And this has been occurring. If you've been watching the live stream, you've seen us intently staring at our computers. And the reason we are intently staring at our computers is to figure out if Preston's got ESPN Plus, and for me to figure out how to sign up for ESPN
Yeah,
Plus.
I didn't know if I had it. I don't know what I have. I'm sure like a lot of you all out there, I don't know what's going on with the TV situation. By the way, cable is going to be back here very shortly with all of these bundles. But I think I did have a bundle, but that's not the major development. The major development was that when I went to try and log in, I got my password on the first try.
That's huge.
Major development.
That is huge.
First attempt, got the password.
And if you're watching on the live stream, you saw a mini celebration.
It's like I cracked the code or something. I was like, oh my God, I actually did it. So I do have ESPN Plus. But here's the thing. I kind of like listening to the games a little bit more. So I'll probably be listening to the game, especially.
Do you have a station that you listen to when you want to hear the game?
Very true. Very true. I do listen to a specific station. Allah.
Well, do what a lot of people I think like doing, and that's put the game on TV
and then listen to it.
Listen.
Okay.
I have an I
might try that today because I do enjoy listening to the game more so than, especially if they have I'm assuming they'll have people on site for these games, but you never know.
I have no idea. That's a good point. I actually almost would doubt it, but you could be right.
Yeah,
because there's 16 different sites they got to be at.
There's that.
ESPN, who's about to get my $14.99 for, is not covering much of the expenses.
What we still haven't found out is if this is the charge that's coming up as sports. I don't think so. I think this might be something else. But I do have ESPN Plus. I did log in on the first attempt, which was a major upset. And so we'll see. We're here.
Yeah. Again, you can listen to the game here. 107.5 the game. You can listen 100.3 the game in Myrtle Beach. But if you wanted to do that, do what I'll probably do today, and that is go by and get me a good steak or some chicken from Old Timey Meat Market, and then, you're right, put on the Alexa and listen to Derek and Stuart call the game, but have the game on television so that if there's a bang-bang play or a confusing play like in the 10th inning last week, I'm actually watching it myself, but then put that on mute. And the key there is what you can do is you can pause the game just long enough to sync up.
Ooh. Okay.
To sync up the game with Derek and Tommy so that y'all are on there. We're on the same page there. Mm-hmm. That way it works.
That seems like a plan. That's something I might be able to pull off today.
And as we do this, and I multitask and I sign up for ESPN Plus right now. My question is, I signed up for the entire package. I've got the Disney Plus now for the kids. I have no clue what Hulu really is. I don't think I'm not only that. I don't think I'm getting the Hulu Live, which I don't need. I already have YouTube TV, but this will probably be a 1-month experiment.
Good luck. That's how they get you. It's a 1-month experiment, and then all of a sudden you got something just coming up on your thing in sports, and you don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's when if I do a sample or a trial or something like that, it immediately goes in my phone as I put a reminder in there, and it's like, yep.
My reminder just comes the next month. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. So today's May 31st. So I really only need this for, I think, a month, unless somebody out there, and I'm interested. Now, Disney Plus is a little bit different. Disney Plus, I can see, especially summertime with the kids watching some movies at night or something when we kind of get it. I can see keeping us for 1 or 2 months. But, yeah, I've got to go through this weekend and look at my subscriptions because I'm getting a little overloaded on subscriptions. I think
that's something that we all would probably benefit from doing sometime this summer.
Yep.
Is just sitting down, looking at what are you subscribing to, what bundles do you have, what don't you have, and maybe just figuring out exactly what you have because I have no idea.
because
Seriously.
yeah, because of like Peacock. I mean, I've got stuff, but I'm one of those people that just at night. Number one, like last night we had basketball. All Standard basketball. We didn't get in until 9 o'clock. I didn't get in until 9 o'clock, and I basically threw on the basketball game for 20 minutes, and I was like, "Ooh, blowout!" Going to sleep instead of sitting up and watching a movie. Or something good. I'm sure there's tons of great movies, and you mentioned the Wham documentary.
It's on Netflix. Really good.
There's supposed to be a good documentary that a buddy of mine was telling me about. It's a hotel down in the Bahamas called Baha Mar or something like that, about how they built it, and it's this mega luxury. He's like, you got to see how they build this thing, but yeah, I'll just go to bed.
That's too much.
So now I'm up. It says it. Welcome to your Disney bundle. I'm in. We'll do another hour. We'll tell you all about our other streaming services. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru. Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. I can promise you Jacob is indeed the mortgage guru in this market. Just a few years ago, he helped me get a great interest rate, a great plan for my mortgage, and it has been fantastic ever since, and he'll do the exact same for you. For example, if you're thinking about building over the back half of the year, check out First Palmetto Bank, who has a no-nonsense construction loan that'll fit your needs. And maybe if you're just thinking about purchasing, well, give Jacob Crowder a call today and see what options, what plans are available for you. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. You can email him to letter J, Crowder, at firstpalmetto.com. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, and that means they have local decision makers for quick and precise underwriting to help Jacob. So call the Mortgage Guru today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
And for your traffic conditions out there, we do have two things now to make you aware of. I-20 eastbound there at I-77 and Two Notch Road at Highway 6, kind of South Lake Drive there. There is an accident as well in Lexington. And as far as your forecast goes, pretty darn nice. 84 today, 86 tomorrow, 83 on Sunday. Going to be mostly sunny today, a little bit breezy out there. Chances for spotty storms start on Monday, and we have that actually for a couple days next week. But this weekend looks pretty clear and nice. It is breezy and 67 right now on 107.5 The Game.
8 a.m. on a Friday. Get up and jump around. We've made it to the weekend. We've made it to the end of May, the final day of May, the final Friday of May. Is it just the old school mentality of when I think all of us were kind of on the same school schedule, that basically when the calendar flips to June, it is official. I know it's not officially summer, but for kids, you're like, oh, June 1st. That's it. All right. Where's the bathing suit and flip-flops? Let's start the summer.
We often had school still into June.
Y'all might have been going a little bit longer.
We were, because I can remember like a June 6th being the last day, June 3rd. So.
Did you start after Labor Day? Do you remember?
Not always.
No?
Sometimes it was in August.
Yeah, we always started in August.
Yeah.
But I think it all depended. For us, there were snow days involved.
That's true. That's a good point.
Do some makeup on that. So.
Yeah, snow days are those things where it's like at the time you appreciate them, but then you're like, oh, man, you got to add it in back at the end, blah, blah, blah. But there's something magical about having the whole month of June
absolutely
out of school.
Because really then you have 2 full months. 2 full months.
And I think, and you can speak to this, I think for most teachers, the final teacher work days are also wrapping up about now. Like the kids are gone. Like obviously, I think some of the other districts wrapped it up this week with graduation and final days. And I think now for teachers, today might actually be the first true day off where they got to sleep in and not have to go work in their classrooms or finish up the.
But you know what? When there's no students,
it's okay.
It's all good. Anybody you'll show up to school.
Anything goes in there.
You just feel the building so much lighter. Everybody's smiling and happy, walking around.
Starting to see more teachers coming into Bar 3 classes at different times.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, final day of May, but that also leads us to our countdowns. We got many of them going on currently. The one to the start of college football season, the one to the Southern 500. What all we got?
We got 92 days until Old Dominion, which we now know is going to be at
4:15.
4:15, and Bill's a proponent.
Fantastic time.
Not sure we're so happy about that. 93 days until the Southern 500. 46 days until July 16th, which is the release of College Football 25. The premium release. The actual date will be July 19th for all you peasants out there.
I think the answer to that is you get to download the game. So, and this is another conversation you and I were having yesterday with Tyler. On my son will download the game into his system, whereas I'm still the old school. I need to have the CD, like we had growing up, or the actual cartridge or whatever. But yeah, so you like that
cartridge.
Yeah, but he
you wanna blow on
that's
it?
right. Got to get that dust out of Mario to get it back in there. But yeah, he can download the game on July 16th, and you can order.
Of course, for a fee. If you don't want to pay the extra.
No,
fee.
we've already.
You paid it. That's what I'm saying.
We paid $150 just for 15
for
right now.
For all your other peasants out there, you can get it on July 19th.
You got to get the hard copy.
Yeah, if you want to get the hard copy on July 19th. 14 days until National Bourbon Day.
Woohoo.
We had 2 album reviews today. We had Tyler the Creator, Flower Boy, and we had George Michael, Freedom 90, which was solid album. And I've been going down the George Michael sort of rabbit hole, just looking at what a tremendous beard that man had. I think he had the best 5 o'clock shadow, maybe number 1.
He went from having really good hair to having a really good beard.
Yeah. He had really good hair. Later on, the hair kind of disappeared, and, that happens to a lot of us, obviously. But, George Michael, phenomenal artist. Freedom 90s, the number 91 album on the list, but I wanted to review it today because it'll be over the weekend.
That'll be good. So you got that going on, and we got a lot of other stuff we'll get into.
On Monday, we'll be coming in with AC/DC Back in Black.
Ooh.
I'm excited about this one.
There we go.
I'm excited about this one. I have not listened to this whole album, so I'm excited to report back.
Yep,
we will.
That should be good.
We will get into that. Also, this hour, we'll have to go back and revisit. I have to go back and get the content. Might have been yesterday or Wednesday. Snoop Dogg has got an NIL plan for his bowl game, and we'll get into that a little bit this hour. But as Preston mentioned, one of the things we talked about, game times for South Carolina football. The first 3 games released yesterday. As Preston said, 4:15, SEC Network. I know it's going to be hot. Y'all know it's going to be hot. Start hydrating now. But what a fantastic start time. You can go to the Hootie concert on Friday night, You can do Thursday and Friday. Just be a puddle of goo on Saturday morning. Get up, have a breakfast, watch game day. You can get out and start tailgating at about 12:30. Just make sure you have a few fans going, and then go into the game. Be done about 7:30. Come back out, little tailgating, let traffic clear out. Be home by 9:30, and really enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
The only problem with that, Bill, is as stated, it won't be done by 7:30 because there will be a heat delay. I'm mark it down. You heard it here first. There will be a couple of delays for the heat, if not for the thunderstorms that pop up every now and then.
Where was this text earlier? Somebody, this came in just a little while ago. Came in the 6 o'clock hour, and it said hottest game ever, and this was a good one. Had a thunderstorm delay. It was the 2013 North Carolina game. There was a Thursday night game. South Carolina kind of controlled, in full control, but there was a massive thunderstorm, I think in the fourth quarter, I believe, or late third quarter, fourth quarter, somewhere in there. Slowed down the game, kind of emptied the stadium out a little bit. That text also said coldest game, 1988 Liberty Bowl against Indiana. But, yeah, it will be warm. It will be warm. There's no doubt about that. But 4:15 will – the only thing that is not good about the 4:15 is it does take up the entire day.
Yeah,
that's going.
Right.
You don't.
It's the day is done.
Yeah.
Before and after, you don't have any choice on that one.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, if that's what you're doing for the day, it's cool. Nothing wrong with that. For the first game, it is an occasion. It is a time to gather around with friends and family and hang out. So that's not a problem. But if you were trying to figure out something else to do, 4:15 sort of ends that.
Yeah. So we'll that'll be that. Now game 2, week 2, 3:30, Kentucky away game. I guess if you're up there in Lexington, I believe Lexington, Kentucky is an hour behind us. Is that right? They're right there on the line. I can't remember. I think
no, they're on Eastern. It's Louisville that's on Central.
All right, that's the one. I haven't been to Lexington, Kentucky in a long time. But with that being said, away game, if you go to that'll be great. That means you travel up on Friday. If you go up early, you're able to kind of check out Lexington and walk around the campus, check things out, then tailgate and enjoy the day. And then that one, as we get into football talk, that may be the game that defines the year, right?
Kentucky?
There. Yes.
Yeah, early in the season, there was a time when we used to think like the Georgia game set the tone for the season and what we were going to see. That was a little bit of a different conversation. But yes, because wins are going to be hard to come by this year. We understand that. And this is one that you need to grab early in the season.
It's just that leads us into week 3, which we now know will be a noon game, and coming up in the next segment, I will give you some message board mayhem. It'll come straight from, I believe it is Eagle USC on the South Carolina noon record since 2005. Noon home game record since 2005. Eagle USC on the bigspur.com. Now, if he's wrong, or she's wrong, whomever posted this, if they're wrong, blame them. It's straight off of the message boards. But I'll give you another good reason why the nooner is a pretty good option for South Carolina. It's coming up in the next segment. But we now know there'll be a noon game, Preston, against LSU, and that would have been fun to have that one be a night game. LSU comes in. That would have been a wild experience at Williams-Brice Stadium with those Cajuns coming in and with South Carolina. If South Carolina's 2-0, I don't know if they would be ranked. I have no idea. But you look at it, and again, if you lose to Kentucky, you don't want to go 1-2 and 0-2 in conference, and then you get Akron. You get Akron after that. Then you get a bye week. And then you go through that gauntlet of Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M.
So this is what Brad, I believe, was texting in earlier about, let's say if South Carolina was 2-0, there would be a chance where that LSU game would be a primetime game.
Well, you normally all through the first 3 games are picked to begin with. But yes, but a perfect example is if South Carolina was to, let's just say, win their first 4, they're 4-0, and then they get the bye week. You get Mississippi on October 5th here at Williams-Brice Stadium. That's where you would probably get the primetime game against Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, Lenore. So you get the point, all the things that come into that. Whereas
and Twain,
he's got to work his way up the depth chart. He's got to work his way up the depth chart to be a factor in that game. But you look at that Kentucky game, you lose that one. I highly doubt you're going to be favored against LSU. You can't go 0-2. In a pivotal year, you can't go 0-2 in conference to start with your next 4 conference games being Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M.
Correct.
I mean, you can't. It's just, we will do this later, maybe in August. Maybe not fair, maybe fair, whichever way you want to go with it. Kentucky might be the biggest game of Shane Beamer's.
You know, my eyes light up whenever I
know.
hear those
It might be fair to say that. It might be fair to say that because that is a winnable game. New offense coordinator up there. Brock Vandergriff will be a new quarterback up there. Kentucky's lost some things. That's not the same Kentucky juggernaut, and juggernaut's an odd word to use for Kentucky, but the way they play, it's not the same Kentucky team that it's been in the past.
And we're looking to turn this into a streak.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
This would qualify as turning things around for a streak there. So, again, that game, we now know the game times, and then that leads us in again to the nooner against LSU. So we will. We've talked about that. By the way, what Preston just mentioned is interesting. The SEC, if you didn't hear this yesterday, if you kind of get lost sight of it, on June 11th, so 12 days from today, the SEC is actually going to release all of the game times for SEC-controlled football games. And by that, I mean the Clemson game is not SEC-controlled because it's up at Memorial Stadium. But all of the game start times will be released on June 11th. They'll be put into windows, so you'll know if you're playing the early game, the afternoon game, or the night game.
And I said I'm a proponent of this because I do think it's awesome for folks to be able to plan their weekends accordingly, things that might be coming up.
So that must mean they have things figured out as far as TV is concerned, because that was usually the excuse of why, or the reason, I shouldn't say excuse, but the reason why they couldn't do that because, TV, well, they're going to tell us when they want to me, it makes sense for everybody to know what it is and not have surprises and doing all of this juggling. I think, I don't know.
The goal for TV was to try and get the best games in the premium slots. The way the NFL gets around that is by flexing games.
Late in the season,
they do move games around. That, as you said, the SEC is looking very closely at the NFL. Mm-hmm. That probably will be something that comes down the line.
I'm sure they'll leave. Well, they do have a flex window. This is where it's going to change. Basically, they're going to look at some games and just be like, yeah, you're a nooner. And I'll give you an example. Just looking ahead, it wouldn't shock me if they go ahead and look at, say, like November 9th against Vanderbilt or November 23rd against Wofford, and they're like, yeah, you guys go ahead and get the early slot. We're just going to go ahead and put you, because late in the season when they look at some of the matchups, they might put them into that afternoon or night slot, and they'll call it a flex slot. But that will occur on June the 11th. And then, by the way, just for those of you interested, and I'm the geek that'll be interested in this, but on June the 6th, ESPN's bowl season schedule will be revealed. Count me in. I'm ready for that. June 6th, bowl season schedule.
I'd rather just go bowling,
Oh, no.
At a bowling alley.
That'll actually be the day I leave for the cruise. I hope the cruise line has a TV station where I can catch that.
Mm-hmm. I need a TV.
Belly up the They're announcing the bowl season schedule, folks. What are we doing here? Come on, Carnival. Get it together. Carnival.
I was like, what kind of cruise are you going on?
Carnival. Disney just got $15 out of me this morning for their Disney bundle to watch the baseball game today and sync it up. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. I'll give you the stat. I'm going to give you a stat, see if you're in it. We'll talk a few other things as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Preston, let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you. They'll come to you and give you a free quote for any job. They'll do the job usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Looking out there on the highways this morning, we do have a couple accidents now. 601 at Bluff Road, Two Notch Road at South Lake Drive in Lexington, I-20 eastbound at I-77, an accident there, and in downtown Columbia, Hugie at Blossom. And that forecast looking nice, 84 under sunny skies today. A few clouds rolling in for the weekend, 86 tomorrow and 83 on Sunday. We get into the upper 80s and maybe even low 90s next week and start seeing some rain chances on Monday. But right now it's pretty nice. 65 and breezy on the early game.
8:21 as we slowly wrap things up here for the month of May on the early game. Get you ready for Tyler Head later on this afternoon from 9 to 12, and then we will get ready for baseball today. Again, coming up 1:45 pregame right here, 107.5 The Game, 2 o'clock first pitch against James Madison up in the regional, and we'll maybe take a little look around at some of the other regionals as well. Eric Bakich, more worried about South Carolina fans than his own fan base. If he does not get out of his regional and Clemson does not get past Vanderbilt, Eric Bakich found a way to make Tim Corbin the second most liked guy in the state.
It was such an odd statement. I promise you, we have not been having that many of those conversations.
Yeah, Eric Bakich putting his team really front and center for if they don't get out of that regional. Oh boy, good luck to him for that. Message board mayhem. All right. So I've been teasing this a little bit. Now this is message board mayhem, not at its finest, but if the numbers are off, blame Eagle USC on thebigspur.com. Okay. Noon home game record since 2005. You even want to take home game record since 2005.
Give it to me. What we got?
32-7.
That's a thing.
30. This is what he says. 32-7, and he says half of those losses, well, right at half is 7. You don't have 3.5, but came in a row at the end of 2015 with an interim head coach. Florida, the Citadel, and Clemson in 2015.
What a tough time.
The other four, this was a dud, but the 07 game when South Carolina was ranked number 6 against Vandy. That was a bad one. 2019 against Clemson. That was a bad one. Oof. That was a Will Muschamper. And then 2022, I skipped 2019. I think it was 2019 against Florida in a rain game. That was the infamous holding call game where Israel Makwamu ran down the sideline and was held and whatnot. There's a lot about that game against Florida. It was played in the rain, if you remember. It was a dreary morning, and South Carolina drove down. I'll never forget Tavian Feaster just running roughshod over the left side of Florida to go down, and South Carolina got in position, got to about the 4-yard line. Looked like they were just going to run in against Florida and take a big lead, only for, I think it was Kurt Roper. It might have been Brian McClendon. I can't remember.
Same difference.
To call a play action pass, and Helinski gets sacked back at the 15, and South Carolina doesn't score, kicks the field goal in the next possession. But that was one loss, and that was a top 10 Florida team. And then also 2022 in the beating taken against Georgia. 3 of those losses, Clemson, Georgia, and Florida, were top 10 losses.
Okay.
32-7 in home nooners since 05, and some of those wins, 05, Spurrier's first year, they beat up on number 12 Florida. 2010, the Marcus Lattimore game, beat up on number 22 Georgia. They've had other wins over Florida in that noon time slot as well, including a 2020 COVID win over Auburn.
That was a big one. That was when Chad Morris decided to do something really ridiculous. I think he just decided to not give the ball to Tank.
Yeah, they decided Tank didn't need to be in the game for that one. That happened twice. Tank actually had a big game in 2020. I think it was 2021, Beamer's first year, that is when they ran the crazy play action. And they took Tank out, and he was visibly upset on the sideline. But that was a night game. But the 2020, that was actually the Shiloh Sanders hit on Bo Nix.
Wow. You're just throwing out names and dates, but those stories, Bo Nix, Shiloh Sanders.
Bo Nix finally just got into the league, by the way. Shiloh Sanders, I think, is still at Colorado.
Oh, he just declared bankruptcy, by the way.
Hold that for next week.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, 32-7 in nooners. Now, again, typically you don't play elite competition at noon, but South Carolina has had a couple very nice wins at noon. Last year, just
wait. All right, cut the crap.
That's Message Board Mayhem, brought to you by Eagle USC on thebigspur.com and the Miles Agency.
So all you doing is just trying to build your position as we should take over the noon slot? Is that what you're saying?
You know, I hadn't really thought about going that heavy into it because I do enjoy some night games here and there. But, yeah, the part of the aging process is I like going to games. I don't like getting home at 1
So you got to sell it like, folks, do you want to win?
That's a good point.
If you want to win, we're going to go with these.
And there have been some good night wins. I'm not saying they're hadn't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're hadn't. I'm just saying South Carolina at noon, very tough place to play.
There's a lot of places that are tough to play at night, but will you be at noon? That's a true mark of an intimidating stadium.
And that's a credit to you, Gamecock fans. That is a credit to you right there that it is a tough place at noon. There you go, 32-7. So that noon game. Yep. Michael points out. Oh, by the way, and just to help, if you just want to back it out on the noon stuff. Last time South Carolina beat Clemson, nooner.
Fair, very fair.
Just throwing it out there.
Listen, man.
Keep building that case.
Keep building it. Keep building
Nooner.
it.
803-404-6100. There you go. There's a little message board mayhem. 32-7 at noon at home over the God, that's almost 20 years, 19 years going back to 05.
Ooh, boy.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. Snoop Dogg talked a little NIL for the bowl game. Preston Thorne's got some opinions. We'll get into that when we return. You're listening to the early game. Well, I know we're rolling into June, but the Springtacular sale at Love Chevrolet blazes on, where you can go over right now and rev up your season with Love Chevrolet's exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Trailblazers, and those phenomenal Silverados. Right now, it's time for you to get behind the wheel and feel the possibilities, new adventures, new roads, and new destinations. And at Love Chevrolet, they understand that better than anyone else. With 14 acres of brand new Chevys and the $1,000 low price guarantee, you're going to find the car, truck, or SUV that you've been looking for at the absolute best price. And on top of all that, and everything included, you have the best sales staff of anywhere here in the Midlands. People that know how to take care of you, know how to make sure you have all the questions you want answered, and make sure that you find that vehicle you've wanted. So go visit Love Chevrolet today, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, and together, let's drive.
Things have picked up on the highways just a little bit. Highway 601 at Bluff Road, still working that earlier tie-up. Also in downtown Columbia, Hugie at Blossom. And I-20 eastbound at I-77, a report of an accident there. 84 for the high today, sunny skies, 86 tomorrow. Could see an increase in clouds over the weekend because we'll start seeing some chances for rain starting on Monday, and that will continue through a good part of next week. And the temperatures will go up just a little bit as well. But right now it's pretty nice, and it's sunny, it is breezy, and it's 67 on 107.5 The Game.
Eight 803-404-6100. Michael weighs in and says, wouldn't game times change if teams start winning or losing? No, we mentioned that.
Not as we understand it now, no.
What they're going to do, now the network, they're not going to tell you what network the game is on. So what we're talking about, if you hadn't heard, obviously they were yesterday. SEC released game times for the first 3 games of the season. We already knew the Kentucky game, so we learned Old Dominion and we learned LSU. But what they're going to do on June 11th, the SEC is going to release. They're going to have a TV show to do this. By the way, it's not. They said just hey, we're going to throw it out on Twitter and let you read it. There's going to be a television show at 2:00 in the afternoon because apparently the SEC network thinks we have nothing to do at 2:00 on a Thursday.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
it's a perfect TV show for you sitting at an establishment and just seeing things pop up. You don't need to hear it. You just,
That's true. You don't need to, just have your phone out and start, putting in the game time. It'd be great. But what they'll do is they'll announce you will either be in the early time slot, which is 12 to 1. One thing, by the way, I'm noticing, and I haven't seen this reported anywhere, but I'm just noticing for the first 3 weeks, SEC Network usually had a 12 o'clock kickoff. The SEC Network. The SEC Network now has a 12:45 kickoff. So I don't know what that does for the road show for SEC Network, if that makes sense. Like if they'll back that up to 10:30 to 12:30 to get 30 extra minutes. You see what I'm saying? Like not compete with game day? Because in the past, the SEC Network noon game has been noon. And everything comes to a close. It is now 12:45. Again, that first Saturday, Chattanooga and Tennessee's at 12:45. Week 2, the 12:45 SEC Network game is McNeese State and Texas A&M. Also, part of the reason for that could very well just be now that you've got more, you're adding 2 more teams. You've got more teams in the Central Time Zone. You're not making them kick at 11. You're getting at least closer to noon. So 12:45 will be that kind of new start time. That's why also you saw the afternoon game, the mid-afternoon game, be bumped back to 4:15, which is kind of interesting as well. And then the noon game for week 3 on the SEC Network, or I should say noon, 12:45 game is the SEC Network. So just an FYI on that. But on June 11th, South Carolina will be slotted for the remainder of those games into either the early time slot. You could end up on ABC. You could end up on ESPN. You could end up on SEC Network. You will be slotted into maybe the afternoon slot, 3:30 to 4:30, or the night slot, 6 to 8 o'clock. So that's kind of how they're doing things moving forward. We'll find that all out. Now, the other thing that's taking place is always, at least this is fun to talk about. We understand this.
Right.
NIL, on the other hand,
not a lot of fun.
Not a lot of fun. So at least
a lot of changes.
But there is one man who knows how to make it fun. One man that 30 years ago was
labeled the most dangerous man in America.
Mothers and grandmothers everywhere united against Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's got a bowl game, and he talked recently about NIL payments for his bowl game. Here's Snoop Dogg earlier this week talking about NIL payments.
I'm happy to announce that the Snoop Dogg AZ Bowl is partnering with brands that will help us be the first bowl, you hear me, the first bowl to offer NIL money to student athletes. We will be the first bowl to do that. Let's go, AZ. Let's go, NCAA. Let's go, players.
What a voice.
That man could.
I mean, do. And I just want to promote things where he has his name in them, like snooper markets. That's so much fun to say.
Which, by the way, if you have children or grandchildren, he has a children's series called Doggyland, which is fantastic.
Really?
On YouTube, Doggyland. It's all these really cool, fun songs. Fantastic, by the way.
I had no idea. And I mean, obviously, he's cool enough to hang out with Martha Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
They've done things related to dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He can do anything. He can do anything.
Yep.
But yeah, talk about people getting gifts. He just had that voice at 17 years old. At 19 years old, when we first heard him, he just came out with this smooth voice, man. What a gift. Aside from all that, this is something that is coming. This is going to be the first. It will not be the last, and it will be the wave of the future. And something people have talked about is the idea of, yes, these games are having the players play in the games to promote the brands. And so as part and parcel of them being in the games, that is going to be part of their NIL payments. So the Bulls will be directly playing players who participate in the games. Will this offset some of the players sitting out? Possibly. Maybe for some of the players. I would imagine if you have the NFL on one hand or an NIL payment, you're still going to probably go with the NFL. But for the next tier of players, this is more of an incentive for them to stay and play in these bowl games.
Locally, I know this had been discussed because I think it was like the year before, maybe 2 years before, when McCaffrey and Fournette both opted out.
I think that was the turning point. That was the year where things really turned. You had people here and there, but that year, whatever year that was the year where the conversation really took off.
Because, it's if you really think about bowl games and everything that's transpired, think about how crazy this was. We talked about, I think in 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was 2012, might have been 2013. We talked about Jadeveon Clowney sitting out the season. Remember, after his sophomore, they're like, oh, he might sit out his junior season and not play to get ready for the draft. I think it was 2013. Years are starting to run together. But think about the fact of this. Not only did he play that season, Jadeveon Clowney played in that bowl game against Wisconsin. Think about how crazy that really is compared to what we see now, because we learned about it more so with Deebo Samuel.
Correct.
And that's the first time I remember sitting here in this studio saying, Bulls are now going to have to come up with something to incentivize these guys to play for some money. You're using, at that time, was that the Belk Bowl? I think that was the Belk Bowl.
Oof.
Yeah, ugly. But at that time, the Belk Bowl started off using Deebo Samuel as the promotional piece for that game. And then he opts out and he's not going to play in it. I do think at some point, these bowl games, that little swag room that y'all had.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's not what it doesn't matter anymore. The bowl game, it's what can you do for us NIL-wise.
Yeah, and that's going to be like you said. As you said, to that point, the Belk Bowl was using Deebo as the promotional piece for that game. In the future, very near future, they will be able to use the player as a promotional piece, and they may be able to compensate them properly as they probably should have been doing this whole time. So there goes our guy Snoop being a trailblazer. But I think more bowls will follow in this model.
I think they have to.
Yep.
And again, June 6th, they're going to announce the bowl schedule. June 11th, all SEC games, controlled games, we will know their time slots. So I think one of the texters waited. Was like, wait, y'all didn't tell what was happening on June 11th. No, we told you. You just might have missed it. On June 11th, all SEC games will be, their time slots will be announced. Now, we already know some specific ones. September 28th, Georgia and Alabama will be a 7:30 ABC game. October 12th, this will be kind of interesting because I think it's like one of the few times this has ever happened. The Red River rivalry, Texas and Oklahoma, 3:30. Usually it's an 11 a.m. kick out there. It's a noon game, but we know now Florida and Georgia, the Lawsuit Bowl, that'll be a 3:30 ABC game. The Egg Bowl on Friday on Friday, November 29th after Thanksgiving will be 3:30 on ABC.
Which there's been changes in that. Changes in when those games are played, from the traditional Thanksgiving night to the Fridays. So things have been happening for TV.
But they will that's what will happen on June 11th is they will announce the game, not the actual game time. You can play at noon on ABC. You can play at 12:45 on SEC Network, but you'll know your window within an hour and a half, hour to 2 hours.
I know things have changed drastically in the 20 years since I played college football, but before we went to the Outback Bowl, we had to take some tests. Do you think they'll have to take those same tests for the Snoop Bowl?
Take a test?
Test.
Oh. Not into the classroom.
You think the Snoop Bowl they're gonna have to?
Can he waive that?
Is that gonna be part of that? Is that part of his NIL?
I'm not 100% sure that wasn't in the swag room.
I was gonna say, and that actually could be a sponsor.
I'm not 100% sure that's not in the swag room. Your choice of CBDs or what is it? Is that right?
You know, we've come a long way in society.
May as well just we're paying them already. Just go ahead and throw some narcotics in there. Why not? Who cares? It's over in Arizona anyway. That's right next to Mexico. Go ahead. Just throw all that stuff in there. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. We'll come back. We will wrap it up. We'll get a prediction. I got a guy who's probably willing to give a prediction.
Nice.
On the if you're wondering who may win the Raleigh Regional, we'll get a guy who probably has a prediction. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. If you're having some tax troubles and they're starting to weigh you down, they're starting to cause stress in your life, not allowing you to sleep at night, it's time to call the Ecton Law Firm and get a free consultation today. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. The Ecton Law Firm, whether it's here in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach, has a local team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good, because they understand the challenges that you're currently facing, and that's why John Ecton and his team are ready to offer you the peace of mind you deserve. And they're going to do it with proven local solutions. So again, line up a free consultation today by calling the Ecton Law Firm. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. You can visit them on the web, ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and the waterproofing industry, and they are ready to help you this summer. You don't want those summer thunderstorms to come up and have an impact on your roof with the heavy rains and the high winds, the hail that could come along. You need to give Mid-State Roofing a call. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing is there to help. They know exactly what they're doing. That's why they've been the leader for nearly 30 years, because of their ability to help their customers. So whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, in industrial or manufacturing, Mid-State Roofing installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919, or visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. It's kind of Snoop Dogg-ish on the way back in. A little Dr. Dre there as the bumper music gets us back into the final segment of the program. We got some stuff for next week that we're going to get into. We got, obviously, as we'll transition out of the athletic calendar year, we'll see how the baseball team does in Raleigh this coming weekend. But, Preston, you got a couple hot topics ready.
Yeah. Next weekend will be the release of Bad Boys
4 is what I know.
4. It's the 4th installment, but it's not Bad Boys 4 ever, because that was Bad Boys 3. So Bad Boys for Life or something.
I think
like
it's
that.
for life.
We'll be discussing that. We have a lot of takes on that. Shiloh Sanders has claimed bankruptcy.
Yeah,
a lot of conversation around that. Darren Waller, if you want to get invested in the WNBA, Darren Waller has found your path, because he has made a divorce music video with a wild mannequin playing Kelsey Plum. If you don't know who Kelsey Plum is, she is Asia Wilson's sidekick for the Las Vegas Aces. Wild, very interesting story. There are things happening in the sidelines of the sports world.
There's also a wild story that Kobe Bryant's torn Achilles Lakers jersey is going to hit the market, and it is expected to go for an absolute insane amount of money. And it brings me to, like, is there a jersey where something special occurred in it that you would have to have if money was no option? Because I don't, like, okay, he tore his Achilles. I know he came back and he hit free throws. I mean, like,
that's a huge part of his legend. Huge part of his legend.
Didn't Klay Thompson do something similar where he shot the free throws and then went off?
Yeah, it's not. He's
okay.
Not, Klay Thompson's not as cool as Kobe, though.
Expected to auction for between $3 and $5 million.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll get into that, but that Darren Waller story too.
That is, do yourself a favor, just YouTube Darren.
Prepare yourself accordingly, Travis.
Let's just say this, Kelsey. Congratulations, you made the right decision.
Well, we'll get into that next week. Next week will be a lot of fun. We'll start to cut up a little bit more obviously, as we always do, talk a little sports as well. 803-404-6100. First pitch set for 2 o'clock today up in Raleigh. Pregame right here, 145 on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And South Carolina, we hope to know by Monday that they are moving on to a super regional. There could be a Monday game. There's one man that knows for sure, though. One man that knows for sure. I believe he knows for sure. He's thrown me curveballs from time to time. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry wants to finish up this morning. You missed your call time at 6 a.m. this morning, so I'll give you a chance here as we wrap up the program. How you doing?
Well, they told me they take some melatonin, and that melatonin got me sleeping. I thought I wasn't going to take no more because I might fall asleep and might miss something. But my first prediction is National Bourbon Day, another Bill Gunther off day. Now, we're going to go to Raleigh, we're going to win it in 3. Then where are we going, Bill? Talk to you later. Love all y'all. Have a good weekend. Talk to you later.
I gotta say, Gamecock Larry, the melatonin got you fired up. You sound.
I thought melatonin was like a downer.
You sound good this morning. Sounded like you're ready to go.
Is melatonin not a? I took it once and didn't sleep. Like my kids would take it when they were, and I was like, one time I was like, oh, I'll just see, let me make sure that like this isn't like having any impact on them. And I couldn't sleep when I took it, but.
Well, you're not supposed to, chase it with a couple bourbons. That was.
I would think that would.
That would probably enhance
it. Yeah, like
it would.
It just got some,
the reverse on me.
He got some quality sleep. He's ready to go, man.
Oh, he is.
Love that.
He is. To answer his question, South Carolina is lined up with the Georgia regional. Georgia has got UNCW. So Wilmington, they've got Georgia Tech and they've got Army. So South Carolina, if you're watching, if South Carolina gets off to a great start, I think you're pulling for UNCW or Georgia Tech to knock off Georgia in that regional so that South Carolina would have a home super regional next week. Gamecock Larry, that's what you would be looking for. But the Athens, Georgia, the number 7 seed, North Carolina State, the number 10 seed. If you're also wondering, Clemson, Vanderbilt, Coastal Carolina, and High Point, they are matched up with the Oklahoma State regional. That is the number 11 seed, Oklahoma State. That has Oklahoma State, Nebraska, Florida, and Niagara.
Well, Bill, you laid it out. If the season ends in the regional, it's failure. If it goes to Omaha, it's a success. If we go to Supers,
eye of the beholder.
We'll have a great week of talk radio.
We will do it. So we'll see you on Monday. We'll see where we stand. Y'all have a great rest of the week, or a great day. Have a great weekend.
See y'all later.
We're out. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Let me tell you, you can beat the seasons with AAA Heating and Air right now, and one of the best deals available.